Hard Hat's all about showing up to play hard, doing what it takes to win.
If you want to cement legacy, win another.
He's your third center.
You don't want to pump him up too much, but it's hard not to.
This is maybe the most I've ever agreed with you.
Yeah. Yeah, Amit. Yeah, Bailey. Shout out to the team.
Shout out to the team. I'm missing something, but I'll get it later. What's up, Bobby?
Bobby from home. Man, you would be looking a lot more color. You would have a lot more color on you right now, Bobby, if you were in Florida right now. But you ain't. You're here with us, and we appreciate that.
Yep, no bucket hat tonight.
John's color comes out in like July, and he turns extremely dark.
You kidding? I think I'm already tan.
That's true. It happens in like May, the first sign of the sun, I guess.
Yeah, I tan through my car. Anyway, it's us three here. We've got Noah coming in down there. We'll let people kind of filter in here.
Noah and her brother.
Noah and her brother are going to be jumping in from Miami. And we're hanging out here, and we're going to talk about Celtics with a ho-hum, kind of, work from home. So it's like, this had like I'll clock in today. I'm not going to work a full 8.
This was one of those.
This was a classic work from home Friday. Like I'm going to sleep in, go to the gym, have a big lunch, do a couple of phone calls, and at 2:00 I'm done.
You're on the golf course. You call Mom, can you move the mouse on my laptop? You just move the mouse around for a minute on my laptop.
Yeah. That's it. That's good.
Yeah,
okay. It's logged. I'm here. And again, a ho-hum. Oh my God, the Heat tied it, whatever, they win. But I mean, a pretty gross game. It doesn't matter. It's kind of other things going on around the team that we'll discuss, but there's definitely some stuff tonight that I think is interesting to talk about. So I'll start with you guys and Bobby, who looks super focused.
Bobby, something's up
and ready to rip it. Yeah, and talk about tonight's game. I'm disappearing off the screen only for 1 minute to adjust something. I'm still listening. I got you here. Go ahead.
I don't believe you, Bobby. You have the floor, my friend.
It's disappointing, Jimmy. We remember this matchup being so good, so anticipated. I mean,
okay.
There was never a world where we wouldn't go this game during the Butler era, right? Like, you just look at this game and you're like, this is Eastern Conference Finals material. It was these finals for 2 straight years. You play them last year. It's tough game to game. They're able to scheme some stuff up. They made it tough on Tatum even in this one. But now without Butler, there's just nothing here. And the stretch to open this game, Jimmy, the Heat just struggling so mightily. It looked exactly like that last game that they played last month. They couldn't put the ball in the basket. Now they end up going on some runs later, attacking some mismatches. They did some better stuff in this game, but it just bums me out. I mean, this could still end up being a series here, round 1, but there's no hope of the Heat winning a game in that series to me with the offense that they have. I mean, they barely ticked over 91 in this game. Wasn't NBC showing a stat like 5 straight games coming into this one? The Celtics held them to under 90.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how far this Heat team's fallen, and they still have the coaching. They still play hard. They still have some continuity there, but with Butler out of the picture,
there's no fire. There's no identity.
There's no fire.
Who are they? Who do they want to be? Who's going to stick around? I mean, Bam was practically non-existent tonight. He's supposed to be there. Him and Hero are kind of like the de facto faces of the franchise, right? I mean, they've got a little, Aquez is solid, but he can only give you so much.
He's tailed off a little bit this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody has. You didn't even see Rozier in this game.
I
was
forgot.
Literally just about to ask, what's up with our friend Terry Rozier?
I forgot Bam played.
He was 9-9 for him tonight. I mean, just a complete.
Because I had to speed through the first half. I started late.
I mean, it's kind of like a statement loss for the Heat. It was a non-existent performance for a lot of this Heat team. I mean, give them credit for fighting back. I mean, they made it interesting. I will give them that much. But if you're looking on like the big picture, it's kind of tough.
No, and they'll fight every game. They'll coach well every game. They'll stay in
Hawkwez,
every
how do you
game.
say his name?
Hawkes. But they're not going to win any
Hawkes,
game.
my bad.
I mean, there's no hope. And this is, 6 down 3 rotation guys here. So it's pretty bleak there. And again, this is the kind of team you're going to see round 1. So no matter who it is there, you're probably just going to be rolling through that team. But this one, to me, especially compared to the other two, there's just nothing here, which is crazy, John. I mean, this was such an instrumental part of like the conversation in the East for 3-4 years before this. The whole Garden Report, the whole time we've existed, it's been Celtics Heat.
I mean, this has been dead, so it doesn't matter. Like this year, it's been dead. They were dead last year too, so it's dead.
But Butler was still there, so you always had that hope he could come back, do some stuff, make it competitive. Yeah. And now you have Wiggins.
Yeah, they're dead. They've been dead. I don't even pay attention to it. But yeah, sure, it is a bit of a bummer. Because what's funny is this is probably their best. Oh, really? Okay. We need a good night hug. Okay, I love you, honey. Okay, bye. We had this was their best rival. This was the best rival they had going. You could talk about everything else. This is the team that you had the most hate for. And so, Jimmy, you ready to come back on? Maybe. We'll try Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy.
Can you hear me?
And yeah.
All right. I was on a delay. Sorry for cutting you guys off.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna cut you off, I want to do it on purpose. I don't want to accidentally do it.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But my takeaway here isn't death of the Heat. I have already processed that and grieved, and I've moved on. I don't care. What I do care about is, again, what are we looking at? Everything is about big picture, right? Like what matters, okay? And that's all you can take from a lot of these games that they're going to be playing down the stretch. What, if anything, matters? Obviously, Porzingis not playing matters, and I think people are starting to freak out. We'll talk about Porzingis for sure. Derek White and his knee, I don't think it's an issue at all.
Brown, you mean?
But
I didn't even think about that.
I'm sorry.
Tonight, yeah.
Jaylen Brown and his knee, I do
Jaylen.
not think Jaylen and his knee. I don't think that's an issue at all. Maybe it's a bias. I've never been super worried about Jrue Holiday, because I have no reason to believe that he doesn't look like a person who's fallen off a cliff. He's just not shooting as well this year, and I'm not worried about that yet. And then you had a little bit of Cornet Queta situations tonight where the entire universe was furious that Neemias Queta was breathing air.
I don't know how this happened.
They wanted him to die. Like everyone's, get him out of there. This is the worst. Like I would tweet something about Derek White, and my replies would be like, "Get Queta out of there, man." And then Joe's like,
"How did this happen?"
From Queta, I'm gonna play him the whole fourth, and he played really well. So yeah, you Queta haters. Okay?
I mean, we're
talking. Up. We're gonna talk about all of it. First, I want to tell you about our pals over at Prize Picks. Check it out. Promo code CLNS. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the code CLNS, play 5, get 50, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Pick more, pick less. That's all you have to do. Get down with Prize Picks today. Run your game. Now back to the game, and I've got no problem starting with Queta tonight because who cares? Also, we'll let you know, quick promotional message. Support the Garden Report postgame show with your YouTube super chats. We're always appreciative when you do. Again, no pressure, and we like having you here regardless, but it's always an option, and we do appreciate it. You hit that little $sign button at the end. The proceeds are divided up equally among the hosts. Helps us kind of keep pumping out the content here. But we're softies. We're doing it. We're doing it anyway, regardless. But go ahead, Bobby. Talk about it. Talk about what you want to talk about.
I remember 4 months ago, probably at this point, early this season, he's doing some good stuff. Luke had some, Luke struggles, and everybody's saying, play Queta. He's stronger. He's faster. He's more athletic. Get him in there. And they're saying, get Luke
all
out
of those
here.
things.
And now it flips. Obviously, Luke's been on a massive extended stretch here of good play. And everyone's turned on Queta because in the rare circumstances where he does play, he's not in rhythm, or he makes a defensive mistake, or whatever reason they have. And I fills my replies too, Jimmy. I don't understand it because there was a lot of excitement, praise, and hope for this guy at the beginning of the year, from what I remember. And now, just because he's not as reliable as he was then, there's such a quick leash on him among the fans to get him out of these games. And John's right. They got to play him. There's nothing left to play for in the standings. He's the only guy on the bench who's shown a consistent level of upside ceiling. And even Joe Mazzulla has talked about it, who's been as tough on him as anyone. He's continuing to go back to him now. And I know other guys are out and you kind of have to, but there was an opportunity in this game, John. He wasn't playing well for a while, where they could have just went single big and gotten him out of there and not played him much in the second half. And they just kept going back to him and investing in him in those minutes. And like you said, he finished pretty strong in this one. The block on Bam was awesome. A couple other plays down the stretch. There's the only way he's going to get better, and all the frustrations people have in him and the mistakes are there. The only way he's going to improve on that stuff is to keep playing. And I especially love that they're playing Luke and him together, because through the minutes we've seen those guys play together so far, there's nothing wrong with that. I had my doubts in that Memphis game where they really struggled early in the season, but looked fine tonight. You don't go to it for long, but it's a way to get both guys out there. They should be playing Queta a little bit every single game, Jimmy.
I agree. And I think sometimes it's like when you leave a review, it's like the problem with Yelp. You only hear from the complainers. You only hear from when something goes wrong. I can't imagine that the majority of Celtics fans have that big of an issue with Queta. I like the guy. I think he's rough around the edges. He's fit. He's a little erratic. Does he have great hands? No. Is he good for a boneheaded decision or two? Yes. But he's physical. He's energetic. He runs like hell out there. I think his defense has gotten significantly better. He's not a liability. And in the words of Bobby Manning, he's your fourth center.
What do you want from him?
What do you want from this
What
guy?
do you want from him? That's what
Seriously,
I don't get.
Why are we picking on the last guy on the rotation?
It's
that might
such
not even
a great point, Jimmy.
Sniff the playoffs if this team is healthy. I give him a hat tip. I'd toss the hard hat on just for him tonight, because he's going in there, playing minutes because guys are short. The Celtics are shorthanded, whether it's Porzingis on a given night, whether it's Horford, whoever. And look at what the Heat did tonight. Their bigs did absolutely nothing tonight. Nothing. We just talked about Bam being completely insignificant. Highsmith, he's shown out in the past against the Celtics. I feel like nothing for him tonight. Whoever else was on the Heat bench, nothing. So, 2 points. You're not looking for, him to fill up the stat sheet offensively, but that +9 is the only thing that matters, and that happened because of the way he played in the fourth quarter and the way when the Celtics pulled away, essentially. So.
And thankfully they stayed with him. Yeah, because we'd be freaking out. Or I'd be freaking out at the very least about them just not sticking with him. And there were some issues. The first play of the game from him was that play where he ran ahead of everybody and just fouled a guy in the front court while the Celtics were still getting the rebound in the back court. I've never seen anything quite like that, but he was fine. And he's not killing them. He's +9, as you see there. There's things he does that they're going to need down the line. And you know what, John? We got to say this too.
That's true.
Are we certain Porzingis is going to be there come playoff time?
Yes. This is the best thing that could have happened.
No, for any given reason, John, not this.
This is the best thing that could have happened to Porzingis. It's not like he's nursing an injury right now.
I'm not talking about this. I'm saying it could be any reason.
I'm saying he's just sick. It's almost perfect. It's almost like he goes through training camp all over again.
Here we go. Don't do another Kemba take.
No, I'm saying it's literally perfect. Right now, the only thing that would be happening is you'd be worried about Porzingis being hurt heading into the playoffs. This is like this built-in, everyone's dream of putting Porzingis in bubble wrap until the playoffs. They did it. He'll be fine. Doesn't have some like unknown. He doesn't
have the plague.
Malaria. He'll work his way back. He'll get back into shape, and he'll literally be perfect when the playoffs begin. I'm totally fine with the Porzingis thing happening now. So my
point is
worried about
if he's out for any reason, you need Queta.
Look,
Bobby's trying to basically say play Queta now because there's a chance, whether it's sickness or a leg injury, an arm, or whatever the hell it could be with Porzingis, that it's good to get some burn in with this team, with the get him in the rotation a little bit, because it might happen. And you know who they're not going to go to in the playoffs, who they went to last year? Tillman. So you got to find somebody who's going to take those minutes in case, hit the panic button and bring in a guy.
And forget position, Jimmy.
Rotation.
Queta's better than Craig. Queta's better than Walsh. Queta's better than Shireman. Like, go all the way down the line. He's the next best player they have off the bench outside their main rotation here. So that's tough because he's your fourth center. So you can't squeeze him into the front court. There's
you
no
love
position
saying
for him there. But you can play him and Luke together a little bit just to get him some burn. On a night where you're fully healthy down the stretch here, you can get him 5-10 minutes by playing him next to Luke. So I think they need to get him back in action. I think they need to get him ready for a potential playoff role. And honestly, beyond this year, John, I said this tonight, you have to start to develop some players. And we're not seeing it right now off the bench with this team.
Well, that was the cool. Yeah, that was the cool part about early season Queta. It was the found money sort of thing where it's like, wow.
Right.
And that was neat. It's like, okay, look, nobody's being silly about it. Again, he was at best maybe supplanting Luke as your third center or a matchup dependent guy. Well, I mean, for a while he did, and then it looked like it would be matchup dependent, and then Joe just put him on ice completely. So, he got taken out of it. And again, the Rob comparisons are so apt, and not because they're the same type of player. Rob was on a different planet in terms of his athletic ability and the way he impacted both ends of the court in ways that like broke conventional NBA people's brains. It didn't make sense. You'd be out there and you probably are like, Rob's killing our offense right now. And then you look at the numbers afterwards and it's like, oh, the offensive rating with Rob on the court was 147. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess not. So it just didn't work the way you expected it to, but it did. Queta's a little loose and sloppy, but he does good things for you. He's always good, especially on that offensive glass. That was the point. He gives you something, Yeah. He's got a pulse. He gives you something, and that was nice. It was found money, and then he was gone, which is so weird. And
it's so surprised to me that the rhythm's gone when he's gone for as long as he was. It was a good,
and that's what happens. That's what happens. And again, just like with Rob, or just like people did with Luke for so many years, you're really only pointing out what they do poorly, which again drives me insane. It's almost like the arguments you and I would get in all the time, Bobby, where you're like, where are you going to play this guy? He can't play defense. I'm like, if he could play defense and shoot threes and handle the ball, he'd be making $40 million a year and he wouldn't be on your team. Like,
that's the root of my third center argument.
Yeah, but you apply it to other people. You're like, you can't play. He can't. Look, they're imperfect players. Queta's what, like number 11 on your depth chart? He's fine. Yeah.
I think it's as telling as anything, Jimmy, that early in the season I said, if it requires pulling back Luke's minutes a little bit or not playing him in certain spots, you know how I feel about Luke. Yeah. I'm fine with it because I see so much in Queta. And I think it's as telling anything, Jimmy, that we've heard Joe countless times this year say, if we hold him to a high standard, what he's capable of. We're trying to show him what he's capable of.
This is the best thing. The pick and rolls, I think.
Rob?
Did I glitch out?
No.
Was this Rob?
Oh, no. It was the Queta and the screening. Luke's in there primarily because of the pick and roll and getting in those actions with Tatum. That's been where he separated himself, I think. Beyond everything else. And look,
positioning.
He's got good hands. And he's always in the right position. So that was that. He's not as athletic or as dynamic as Queta. If he shot some threes, I'd like him better. Yeah. But
he's what, fine. 2 years into his playing career consistently. He played a little bit last year, never played in Sacramento. And this is the first year he has a full-blown role. So I don't know what his age is, like 23 or something like that. 24,
I think he's 25.
Maybe a little older than that. Yeah, so he's on the older side of prospects here. He started playing basketball like 16 or whatever. So, he's on the younger side of his development track is what I'm trying to say here. He's not 19, but he's, a decade into actually playing basketball here. So I think you have patience. There's nothing to lose here. If you lose a game because he struggles, fine. And there is a long game here of you might need him a little bit in the playoffs. Probably not if you're fully healthy, but you want to have him ready. You don't want to just not play him the next handful of weeks, John, and then have to throw him into a playoff game and he's completely out of sorts. I think it makes sense that he looked the way he did when he came back from that hiatus. So Solid stuff tonight, mistakes, but you can live with them, and you won missing 2 starters. So I think that says more. It says about as much as anything, even the plus minus here you see. So I don't get it. People can feel how they feel. I love them.
Look where
I'll
we are.
support 'em.
We're talking about Neemias, Queta, and screens. For like in the first 20 minutes of a Heat show.
Again, though, it's fitting too. John, how many times did we used to say, "Oh, how'd the Heat find Max Strus? How'd the Heat find this guy, that guy?" This is how you do it. You sign a guy to a 2-way, you develop him, you play him, and then he gets better.
Yeah.
Facts, my dog. I'm done with Queta talk, I think. I think he's good. This is the role 22 minutes is the most you'll see from a guy like Queta. And in a game against a Heat team that doesn't have really much going on, maybe they'll sneak into a play-in game or whatever. It's the perfect opportunity to play him and get some minutes in. I mean, again, offensively, not a whole lot there. He never really does. He's a cylinder guy. He's a guy that's gonna just sort of stand under there and pick up the trash, maybe, right? But he's physical. 8 boards tonight. I'll take that any day of the week. So
I'll give him more than that, Jimmy. I love his passing. I love his ability to grab lots of rebounds in weird positions. Yeah, like there's a lot more there if he can put it together. And listen, he's got to put it together, but you only do that by playing.
That's it.
That's it.
What else stood out to you in this game, Bobby? Anything?
I mean, look, the other one is the
Holiday.
It's the Jrue Holiday game, and that's the big thing here is like, I hate doing this because I think Celtics fans do it too often every single time to kind of brush away actual issues. I think it's an interesting question whether whatever struggles Jrue Holiday has had this year are real, or like real meaning a sign of decline, or just for some reason he's not shooting it well this year. But do you believe he has lost more than a step, like 1 to 2 steps, and he's off or he's washed or he can't shoot? Like, I just don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that's happened. I just think he's having an all-around bad year, or not worse year, maybe attributable to some sort of injuries that were never. He's always been playing at 70%. His role on the team, reintegrating Porzingis. Who is he in terms of the offense? When to press it, when not to, and then just going cold from 3, going from 60% on corner threes to 27% this year is just so strange, especially if you look at just where he's been 40, 40, 40, 40 for the last 4 or 5 years overall from 3. So for him to take such a dip here is odd. And it's great when you're down, 2 starters, and 3 rotation players. It's great to get Holiday in there and playing and as a legit offensive option, which is what he was tonight. And for a while, he's the only thing they had going, because Tatum was playing at about 30% for the first 3 quarters of this game.
I think for him, it's going to be matchup dependent. There's certain teams that can utilize his shooting deficiencies this year and take advantage of them by playing away from him and taking the paint away and all that kind of stuff. There's only a few teams that can do that. The Heat aren't one of them, because it's Hero and it's Pelle Larson and it's all these guys you can attack. And the one thing you'll still give Holiday, John, even if the shot is declining, even if it is disappearing a little bit, he can back a guy down.
I don't believe it is.
Well, whether it is or isn't, he has other stuff he can get into. And I feel like that's actually where he got himself going in this game, is he started backing guys down. He started making some plays out of the post. He finished his first basket inside, rolling off White, and then he moved outside. So this is a matchup that I think he can still thrive in. Most matchups are matchups I think he can still thrive in his role. Talking big picture, though, John, Cavs, Thunder, saw it on Wednesday. The teams that can actually manipulate him a little bit and force him to beat them specifically, I think that's where they're going to have a little bit of trouble, because whether his shot's declining or he is the same guy he used to be or he's not, and I think there were a lot of injuries early this season that explain some of his struggles, and obviously he's dealing with one right now. I think when the time comes, you do have some concern that a great defense could really scheme it up and force him to beat them. And can he still shoot 36% from 3 in a series? Definitely his career average. But you'd rather Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis be deciding a series than 15 Jrue Holiday threes because the other team's not covering them.
Well, listen,
No doubt about it.
I refuse to believe that the Celtics would just allow the opposing team to dictate their offense and just take every shot that they forced Jrue Holiday to make. I know that happened once earlier this year when Holiday ended up taking like 25 shots. What was that
17
again?
threes, 26 shots. Yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Memphis game.
Yeah, I don't see that happening again, Bobby. I think the Celtics are going to have to instill some of their own will against these teams and play their style of basketball. Jaylen Brown said it a couple games ago. Physical team dictates style of play or the way the game goes. So if that's something the Celtics need to do, then fine. The thing that's working for Jrue Holiday is that he's been there, done that many times. He steps up in big games. I firmly believe that he will be ready for the playoffs. Physically, mentally, whatever it is. I mean, he's probably shooting better with the splint on his finger than he was without it.
So I was going to get there. He looks pretty good with it. I know he keeps going to it because it's probably annoying.
He's fine. It's not an issue.
But he's shooting fine.
He's shooting fine.
That
was the concern, is that it was going to alter his shot, and it clearly hasn't. He's practiced enough with it. He feels comfortable with it. He's even turned it into a little celebration. So I kind of love the Dr. Evil Selly.
Love it.
One of my
pretty
favorites
good
right now. So
good.
Keep that going as far as I'm concerned.
I have seen that movie.
I hope so.
Congratulations.
That movie stands the test of time, or both of them.
It does.
3 of them. Both, all the Austin
I think
Powers
there's
are
3,
great.
yeah.
I wish they would do another one, but anyways, I'm not, and I'm listen. At some point, we'll see. I think a noticeable drop off with Jrue Holiday. I don't think it's this year. I'm not saying it's going to be next year. I think by the end of that contract, whoever he's playing for it's probably going to look a little worse at that point.
I know it's
weird. You gotta sign those guys to those types of deals in order to get the production out of them in the front half of that deal. And it is what it is. 10 of 15 tonight, 5 of 3. I mean, if anyone thinks that he was off, I mean, these are the types of games that you have to just absolutely love, because it goes to show that, okay, yeah, this guy still has it. This guy can still play, still keep up with the best of them.
It's kind of a similar conversation to Horford, and Horford's obviously like 4 or 5 years older, so it's a little different. But you're not asking as much from him, and so
Horford,
you feel good if he has a condensed, complementary role, and he can do all the little things. They empower Brown, empower Tatum, all the guys who are actually going to do the heavy lifting on this team. Again, the worry is if teams force him to do the heavy lifting, because I think that's what you can say, John, is that he might not be as equipped to score 20, 25 points as he was in Milwaukee. And that was a big part of his job there. Fortunately, it isn't here. But I think that's all we can glean from the start of this year, is that he's just in a different place in his career.
If Derek White and Jaylen Brown weren't on this team, he'd be scoring close to 20 points a game. It just is what it is. And you might not love it. Yeah, I mean, look, again, the question was always, is he a 2 option? I don't know. I think he was miscast as a 2. I think he's always been a 3. And that was even on Milwaukee. The reason he had to bump up is because of Middleton injuries, but that's who he's been. He's absolutely still capable of being the 3rd offensive cog. He could be your Derek White if you didn't have Derek White and Jaylen Brown. If it was Tatum, Porzingis, and Holiday would be scoring 16, 17 points a game.
Well, that's the thing.
Because it would be necessary.
Yeah, even if he's a little bit worse, and I think you can say that, John, he's not a 40% three-point shooter this year. He's not a 60% corner guy. The crazy stuff he did last year, you're probably not getting this year, but he's still a better 5th option in your starting lineup than any other team has, and it's by miles. So that's the strength here. The problem is you had to pay him $40 million for 3 more years beyond this to get it. But that's the problem for after this year.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing is the reason Wick sold the team.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, it's like, and
it's a risky contract.
We've already seen Joe do it. Like, he'll put Pritchard in place of Holiday in situations. So it's not like the Celtics are going to go down with the Jrue Holiday ship if it were.
How is it risky? What was the option? Not signing him?
You could have had him play on the player option and then made a decision after this year. But they saved some tax money by doing that.
Yeah, and you're losing the asset. I just think you're better off there. If you've got to move things around. Anyway, go ahead, Jimmy.
I mean, that kind of just kind of the end of my point is that, Holiday's, we're not even mentioning the defensive side of his value to this team. And
He's
that's a
guarding
huge part of
centers, yeah.
it's a huge part of why he's the player that he is. He's switching on everyone. He can body any other guard in the league, back him down, just bury him. This guy is a bit of a chess piece out there. So there's many reasons why they extended him when they did, and why they'll pay the extra money.
Someone asked if the 90s are for me what the 70s are for most people.
I mean,
Probably.
It depends what most people are.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Yeah. I was born in 98.
It's fine.
That's crazy.
It's we olds ask too much of you guys. You're not supposed to know stuff that happened way before you were alive. It's like
I know a lot of stuff that happened back then.
You ask people my age, like, oh, what won the Oscar 10 years before you were born? I'd be like, I don't freaking like,
Right.
in 1930, I don't know. So like, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, we're gonna
1930.
That's so
Got
long
it.
ago.
Yeah. It was black and white. We know that.
Yeah. It was
John, you remember
it was
a
movies where
flip
there'd be
book.
someone there'd be an actual human in the corner playing the piano
John,
over pictures.
you remember episode 2 of the documentary there, all that Bill Russell stuff.
No, I didn't. Which one?
They just
haven't
did the
been
Bill
watching.
Russell episode, yeah. No, you were there, so you don't even need to watch it.
That's true.
I
Yeah,
was there. Oh my God, yeah.
You lived it.
Bill Russell, greatest player I ever saw. Anyway, we'll get back to more of it later. First off, again, want to remind you all at home, basketball action is hot right now. You got hockey, you got baseball, you got all of it. So please download the Prize Picks app. Best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members, billions in awarded winnings. Prize Picks made daily fantasy sports accessible. Pick more, pick less. 2 players, shot to 1,000 times your cash. Also lots of fun features like Taco Tuesday, Freaky Friday, mix and match player projections from different sports. That's the coolest part. Combine your favorite players from hockey, esports, baseball, doesn't matter. It makes it a lot of fun. So again, download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app. Code CLNS. 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. We have some sound that we're going to go to. Joe Mazzulla talked after the game. We're going to listen to Joe, courtesy of Noa Dalzell, who's doing her best to shoot it. This isn't Amit level stuff here. We don't have our fancy cameras here, so bear with us on it. But here's Joe talking about tonight's win.
Joe, what level did the defense go to in the fourth quarter? Was it adjustments or was it just a matter of raising the level?
I thought we were pretty good throughout most of the game. We had a 25-point quarter to start. Obviously, you have a 14-point fourth quarter. They were, I felt like in the first half, we just gave too many transition fouls. We had like 5 transition fouls. They were able to keep them in. And I thought they hit some guys hit some shots. But I thought we stuck with it. But in the fourth quarter, we were obviously to dominate the paint with our rebounding and did a great job in our coverages. So, they definitely took it to another level.
Jrue doesn't get a ton of shots oftentimes, but nights like tonight when he's kind of able to showcase that he is a 2-time All-Star. What does it do for you guys, and how much is that kind of overlooked almost sometimes?
No, it's not kind of. It is overlooked, but it's overlooked because that's just the type of person that he is, and it's also just the type of teammate that he is that will do whatever it takes to win and for his team. And tonight the ball found him early, and I'm glad he was aggressive and he was able to build through that. And I thought he made some timely plays. And some big time plays, and I'm really happy for him because he does get overlooked at times, but we're really grateful to have him.
Nimi played that entire fourth. What did you see defensively in particular from him that kind of helped you guys make that? Yeah,
we started the fourth quarter double big with Nimi and Luke just to kind of mess with their matchups and some of their coverages. And Nimi at his best, he does an amazing job of being able to change coverages. He can switch, he can play in touch. Does a great job of protecting the rim, and he can guard shooters, and so you kind of saw a little bit of all that. He had some one-on-one matchups with Andrew Wiggins. He got a couple in-traffic rebounds that helped the game for us, and then he was able to protect the rim on some stuff. So just really, you saw his versatility in the fourth quarter.
Thank you. Joe Mazzulla there, scolding all of you Jrue Holiday haters out there who don't appreciate. I'll tell you this, and again, whether there's X percentage of decline, whether he's just off, whether he's not 100% of himself, among the things that I'm worried about or that might make my list of concerns entering the playoffs regarding the Boston Celtics, Jrue Holiday is not on the list.
Interesting. So what are your top 3?
Because what I'm saying is, I think it's an anomaly. Like if Jrue Holiday shot 45% from 3 in the playoffs, that wouldn't be surprising at all. I'm not like expecting it. Again, if his 3-point numbers were back to like career, if he shoots
35
his number the rest of the way, there's no concern. You're not worried about it all.
The concern, John, the concern's the same as the teams. Round 1, nothing matters. Round 2, if things get really wacky, it might get.
You're
dicey,
the one that wanted to do a round 1
preview
preview tonight. Yeah,
yeah, you did.
Oh, they're playing the team they might see tonight. But anyway, round 2 could get dicey, but probably not. Round 3, we'll see what the Cavs or any of these other teams offer. But that's the point in the playoffs, deep down the line, where little things like Holiday's ability to knock down shots if teams are playing away from him matters. That's just something that you can look at with this team and say, that's something we've seen other teams expose multiple times this year. And it was a big part of that game on Wednesday.
But again, it's exposed. But I do think, like, here's the thing, and everyone's going to get mad. Louise, just chill, please. Okay?
Don't ruin Friday night.
When they did it to Jaylen Brown, everyone was mad. But at the time, like, Brown has been consistently kind of the worst shooter on the worst 3-point shooter on a team that shot it well. He's not atrocious, but if you're going to pick your poison, you'd rather Brown taking threes, all game long than attacking the basket or other guys shooting them. So that tactically, when Golden State did it, everybody lost their minds. Like, are you crazy? And it's like,
but
he's
here's
been that
the
guy
difference, John.
for 3-4 years. Like, Holiday's been much better than that. So I'm not ready to just say all of a sudden, like, they're exploiting the Celtics or exposing a weakness.
So here's the difference, and I said it that night.
Yes, Louise, he was of the team of the Celtics regulars. Brown has consistently been. Last year, he was clearly the worst 3-point shooter of the regulars. Clearly, I mean, it's not even close. And the second was Tatum. But I mean, Tatum shoots at volume and shoots a lot of pull-ups. Brown starts some catch and shoot as well, and he wasn't making them. So when they dared him, I got it, because it's a pick your poison.
Here's the difference to me, because Brown's used to taking 25 shots in a game, 17 threes sometimes. Like, that happens for him, and he's in his prime, and he's used to that workload. Holiday's at a point in his career where he's taken 4, 5, 6 shots some nights. So on the off night or the off series where suddenly he has to take 10, 15, 20, it's different. And it's probably more physically taxing for him. It's probably more mentally taxing to have those shots be more consequential. I just think you're putting a lot of pressure on a guy who hasn't played through a ton of pressure with the Celtics so far.
I mean, what was the story of Holiday last year? The story of Holiday was he literally stepped into a role totally different than everything that he would done and played it perfectly. And he just knocked down his shots at low volume.
But it's a small
the same
role.
thing. But it's a smaller role. But again, it's still not ridiculous. Like, we're not talking like he stepped in and he was a guy who was taking, however many shots he was taking with Milwaukee with the Bucks closer to 13, 14. He's been his whole career about a 14 shot per game guy. He dropped down to 10 last year and he's at 9 this year. So yes, it's less, but he accepted it beautifully last year, and he shot 43% from 3. So he already did the less and accomplished the more. So I'm not. It's like his role hasn't changed so much this year that it's like, well, he's got so much pressure because he only takes 6 shots a game. He's about the same shot volume as last year.
Also, why are we concerned about pressure? This is Jrue freaking Holiday. It's not.
He does not feel pressure.
No, he's a 2-time champion. He's a 2-time gold medalist. He's defended the best players in the world and won. He's a all NBA
Like
player.
the first guy
all
picked for the Olympic
defense
team,
player.
like there's obvious value there. Like I think the shooting is a weird anomaly and a cold stretch. Like why is it that when Jayson Tatum goes 4 months with his 3-point shot in the toilet, everyone's like, he's streaky, he'll always turn it around. He always does it in February and March, and everybody's certain. But Holiday, after shooting 40+%, around 40% for the last 4 or 5 years, consistently looking as good as he looked last year, all of a sudden, like, oh, well, he's a liability and he's being exposed. I don't believe it's happened.
The shot making,
I think eventually he's going to regress to the mean on it.
He's not a liability, but I will say that Pritchard.
Well, I'm looking at the numbers right now, Jimmy, and I know where you're going to go. If we're comparing it to the Pritchard minutes, because the on-off stuff, I'd have to imagine is a lot of like if Holiday's on or if Pritchard's on. The offense is 10 points worse per 100 with Holiday on. Even their offensive rebounding goes down a ton, which is a big strength of his last year. And the field goal percentage goes down about 3 points, over the stretch of his minutes there. And overall, they're 7 points worse per 100 with Holiday on the floor compared to off this year. So it's been big swings. And Pritchard's, I know you're just going to go, Jimmy. There's going to be nights where they have a tough Holiday Pritchard decision if Holiday doesn't have it. And you're probably leaning on Holiday, right? Just because all the things you mentioned, John, the defense too. There's a lot of reasons to keep playing him. But his offense is so predicated on the shooting at this point that if the shooting's not there, you have a tough decision because Pritchard's such a great shooter.
Right.
Yeah, look, we talked about that. That's going to be a problem. But again, I'm sorry to say this, but to the Pritchard people out there, because he's been amazing. Pritchard's not supplanting Jrue Holiday in the playoffs in the fourth quarter of games. It's just not going to happen. I'm not saying Pritchard's stats are empty calories, but he's racking some up, in against crap competition. He hasn't played horribly against the good teams. I think that's wrong. He's had some good games against better competition and some not so good games, but so has everyone else. When the playoffs come in there and things really ratchet up, it's going to feel more like the OKC game for Pritchard in a lot of those late and tight matchups than it is some of these others where he's just able to step back and take 40 footers.
And that's a problem because he's the only alternative you have.
But he's still going to cook. He's still going to come in. He's still going to, instant offense. But I think you're going to see a few games in the playoffs where his minutes are below 20 and he's 1 for 5. And that's really the only opportunity he had. And that's that. And then they lock it down and go 38 plus, with their guard, with the starting guards and 40 plus for Tatum. That's going to happen a lot. So it's going to be Holiday.
And I just want to stress again, round 1 Holiday is going to be fine. Round 2 Holiday is going to be fine. We're talking about the deepest stages of the playoffs where you're going to see the highest level competition. There's never a time where Holiday's not going to be fine and someone else is going to be more fine than him. So you're in a ride or die scenario right there. I really just think every number that you pointed out with the total offense mainly revolves around just a weird shooting dip for him right now. I don't see it. The season's almost over. I mean, we're talking about like almost a full season.
I know, but but you're saying it's over, but he's also shot 27% or whatever the last 2 months. So like it really tanked, really, really, really dropped low. So that's where it's a little bit all over the place here because it's been so bad recently.
And I have to imagine, John, it's because of injuries. I think he's been hurt and tired.
That's kind of where I'm going.
Run all year. Yeah,
I think so too.
And it actually makes sense with the finger that he got that time off and comes back looking pretty good here because the finger's whatever, you can play through it, and he got some time off. And that's why, like with the Jalen thing right now, I'm just like, there's nothing left to play for. Just sit out, get fresh, look good. I don't understand it. And, Holiday's the one who answered that question earlier in the year to me where I was like, why don't you guys just sit out until you're right? And he's like, yeah, there's not enough time to get fully right for some stuff. And I guess I understand that. But sometimes these guys are out here looking exhausted and banged up and they're just not playing well. And it's like, what are you pushing through this for?
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I'm not worried about it. Doesn't mean it's going to turn around. I just don't think it's like something you can really just put your finger on and be like, he's worse. I'm not certain. I think he's not playing as well. It's kind of similarly with Brown. He's not playing as well in certain aspects of his game right now. So it doesn't mean I think that Brown's like it's a concern.
Falling off.
But
yeah, right.
yeah, he's not. He's the same guy. He might just be fighting through some stuff, whether it's injuries or just he's fighting through a shot at the moment. But he's still Jaylen Brown. So again, you're gonna ride or die with these guys. If they don't play well, they don't play well. But I'm not. It's not a sign of like, oh, Holiday. People are so quick to just call Holiday a problem and the worst contract, and as if he went off that cliff, and he hasn't gone off the cliff. I don't think that's.
You might be right.
Point.
All I can do is just go off what we've seen.
Maybe not. Speaking of Holiday, let's hear from him in the locker room here. 25 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and knocked down 5 of 8 threes. It was nice to see him do that.
I'm not 20 then.
We started talking and then grab ass.
Riveting stuff so far.
Bailey, cut out the grab ass next time.
You know, it seemed like, especially the lift, was pretty needed when you guys were out there.
No, I feel good to see the ball going. I think that's right. For everybody, you know. He was kind of in a situation where they hadn't seen the ball going for a minute, and then when you see it go in, I mean, yeah.
What's the cross? I know you talked about a little bit with your hand, but do you feel any pain now when you're making, you know, tough shot? Like when you're shooting, obviously it's not affecting that much.
Thanks, Drew.
So that's
yeah, it's good about that. Yeah.
Was there a point early on where you were kind of getting more used to it, having to adjust?
Nah, I just think sometimes when adrenaline kicks in and you go out there playing, it doesn't really matter. Nobody else cares that it might hurt or whatever, so I try to think that way too.
Joe was saying he thinks you're a very underrated player. That kind of seems to be that Derek was kind of saying the same thing. Do you feel like nights where you're taking 2 or 4 shots, like does that, you know, is it just easy? Is it just instinctive at this point to just do what goes towards winning? Is it nice to have opportunities to be a little bit more high usage, like just kind of knowing that you have that in your back pocket?
Yeah, it's always nice to throw them at the rim. I love the one. But I think sometimes you get to get into your bag a little bit deeper. But I've been playing the league for a long time, so I know it's there. But I feel like with this team, we have so much talent. Any given night, anything can happen. So like JB and KP, we're out. And, I got a chance to see the ball go in, and hopefully I can continue doing it.
Is it important to get running with everybody? You guys know what you can do. It's not foreign to you, but there hasn't been many opportunities for you guys to develop with the whole.
I don't think it hurts. Having everybody play together, get into a rhythm that way is definitely something that would benefit us as a team. But this also benefits us too, where guys get a chance, like Sam, D. White, Peyton, making 10 threes a game, get a chance to see the ball go in and play well and play comfortably. I think that helps in the long run as well.
How much are guys sacrificing from night to night?
I mean, I think a lot. Again, I think a lot of people on our team, on other teams, would be doing a lot more, quote unquote. So playing on this team, it's really about winning, and it's not about the stats. It's not about at the end of the game how many points you put up. A lot of times it's the little things, and we reward that here.
Just winning a championship with that mindset last year, like is it almost like a proof of concept where if you buy in, like we already saw that it works, does that make it easier, you think, kind of just for the group, or it doesn't really change?
I think that I don't think it really changes. I think for the most part we've always tried to do that. I know for most of my career I've always tried to do that, but when you have a team that's talented and you see guys in the prime or right before their prime or whatever, you want to get a chance to show what you have, but those opportunities will come. Sometimes winning or getting a chance to win doesn't come as often, so take advantage of it while you have it.
That was great stuff on the expanded role, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes, and that's what we're talking about. One of the best things, I think this is one of the great things about why you'd feel good about this team coming back this year. Sometimes you have like that situation where everybody's banding together and let's do it and let's suck it up and let's win this one, and it's great. And then you come back the next year and everyone's like, okay, so now I'm going to show people what I can do.
Yeah.
This isn't that team for a couple of reasons. Number one, you have everyone got paid And so nobody's playing for a contract, right? Like
True.
everyone's extended, everybody's in there, and that makes a big difference because you're not leaving money on the table. Holiday's entering a walk year, a contract year, and his production. Look what happened to Brogdon. Brogdon had to sacrifice, and he goes out there, and all of a sudden nobody wants him. He's a seventh man. He's no longer a fringe all-star, 20-point scorer. He's just a nice piece to have on a team. It almost redirected his career in a totally different direction from where he was. So he sacrificed for the good of the team, and he ate shit because of it. Everyone here got paid.
You're such a way with words.
These guys got paid, and they're fine. And also, Holiday's later stages of his career, all of these guys are, Porzingis isn't old, but he's a guy who's here to win and happy to do it. He's not stat hunting, and he got paid too. Derek White got his money, so he's okay. Like, okay, you saw what I'm all about. That's great. Nobody's out there playing for their next contract, and they're happy. The winning is what defines them more than their stats, and they all recognize that at this point. Pritchard's the only guy, and Pritchard he's playing for one, but way down the road because they signed him to an awesome deal. So he's like, oh crap. And Hauser got paid. They all got paid. So nobody's got to worry. What are people going to think of me next year? They're all secure and they're all safe out there. So nobody's got to go out and do anything there. And you've got, like I said, more of a veteran presence, but it makes a difference.
For sure. And the stuff he said there made me feel better because, he's confident that he can step back into that role.
He knows
he's done it so often in the past. And that's the thing here, right? We're not talking about a guy who has played this small role throughout his career and sometimes he'll go off. He did play that massive second option role in Milwaukee alongside Chris Middleton there, where you saw him consistently do this stuff. And it's one of the reasons you got so excited to add him, back to the New Orleans days in your case, John, and more recently for everybody else here. You saw the massive games and you knew everything else he did alongside that. But when you have the capability to score 20, 25, Jimmy, on top of the defensive, all defensive level stuff he does and the rebounding and everything else, the passing, that's what makes him special. And, as everyone has said around the league for a long time, this is truly one of the most special role players we've seen. And obviously he's deep into his career at this point, and we are seeing some regression, at least on the stat sheet. At his best, it's kind of like Horford, Jimmy. At his best, what he's capable of, and what he's shown in the past in the biggest moments too.
And he's on a team where he doesn't, you guys have already mentioned, but he doesn't need to be the guy. There's so many guys on this team. I mean, just look at the last week plus on this Celtics team. You had Holiday be the guy tonight. Before that, you had Hauser. Before that, you had Pritchard, and you had Derek White. Every night. And Horford, every night it's somebody different. That's why this team is so scary. And that's why you'll hear opposing teams or opposing coaches say they're the best team in the league, blah, 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 blah. It's because on any given night, 1 through 8, 1 through 9 can drop 25, 30 easily without a blink of in the blink of an eye. And tonight was Holiday. And it was right off. He got into a little bit of a rhythm right when this game started. Hit a couple of threes. Got his little swagger going. And after that, the hoop gets a little bit bigger. If Jaylen Brown's in the game, if Porzingis is in the game, there's only one ball, right? So he's not going to dominate shot attempts. That was never his style of play. He made his name on the defensive side of the ball. And the offense, to me, is gravy. I mean, you don't need 25 out of Jrue Holiday, right? If you get, I think it was Mike Gorman or somebody, maybe it wasn't Mike Gorman. He said, if you're getting 15, he said it about Derek White. He's like, if you're getting 15 out of Derek White, like, you're probably going to win that game. I feel the way about Jrue Holiday because that's really all you.
Especially because he's giving you 10 a night. So that's a massive jump over that. And then 25 is just absurd. So there's a flexibility with this team. There's a versatility offensively. There's shot making everywhere. That's what makes them special. And the fact that your fifth option can do that too is what puts the cherry on top with this team. You look across the league, John. There wouldn't be a fifth option close to him if you stack them all up.
I mean, it's not even close. What are you talking about?
Not close.
Like even
honestly, he's been as advertised. I don't think I mean, if anything, he's been better than advertised, at least when you go back to last year. I thought he was better than advertised on the offensive side, at least from the shot making. This year, I think this is kind of the player I expected the Celtics to get when they traded for him. A guy that's going to give you just enough on offense, not going to light you up, not going to be the focal point, but he's going to show up on defense. If anything, I thought he had a couple of, like that game against the Hawks stands out. That was that was probably one of the worst games of his career. Some bad decision making in that one led to the Hawks ultimately winning that game. But for the most part, you're getting a heady player, a guy that has a high basketball IQ, and along with Derek White, said this last year, find me a better backcourt in the NBA. I mean, find me a backcourt that's harder.
And look at what those guys do
score
together tonight.
Yeah, Derek White in the fourth quarter, coupled with what Jrue Holiday was doing for you, for the first three. I mean, teams dream about having one of those guys, and the Celtics have both. So
that's the thing. Is again, and other teams like
how can they get there?
Cleveland runs deep. Cleveland's got guys who can score. I think they go about 7 deep with guys in double figures. But what they don't have is 2 guys who are elite scorers at the top too. So that's the whole thing. Is
Celtics do well against Garland.
Yeah, not only is Holiday your 5th option, but your top 2 options, are capable of, putting in 40 any given night. We'll bring in Noa. Might have brought her in too soon. Too soon, Noa?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah, she's good. Yes.
Oh, we can hear you.
Noa jumping out of the Celtics locker room as the C's win a kind of ho-hum.
She's got the ring light. I know that glow. I saw it in person.
Well, it's
Jimmy,
not a
you
ring
can borrow
light.
that sometime.
Person.
You're right. Damn, it's the other one.
Yeah,
we've been on the Jrue Holiday stuff, Noah, and I think your questions. This is what we were talking about before. We heard the post game press conference from Holiday, and your line of questioning is kind of where our conversation was prior to that on the whole role of everything. And again, when guys sit out at any given night, when you're down 2 options and Jrue Holiday is your 2nd or your 3rd offensive option, it shows that he can do things like this because he's done things like this. And I do think based on his role and based on, some, weird shooting splits for him this season that I think are anomalous. Like, I think there's a perception that he's dropped off tremendously, and I've never felt that way. And so this is a great kind of reaffirming sort of game to be like, yeah, he's got this in his bag. And I don't think this is a, turn back the clock game. It's just an example of, yeah, when you need me to score, I'll go score. And that's what he did tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And I asked, I don't know whose sound you guys have already played, but I asked Derek about it, and he said, I think we could be better sometimes at finding him. I think the reality is that there are so many guys that can score, and usually everybody has an advantage in their own individual matchup. But so does he. And sometimes they get him going, like they run him the first play of the game, and he has that kind of like backing down layup. They did it more last year. But when you have Tyler Hero guarding him, it's kind of a twofold thing, because not only is he able to score on that guy, but also that's the main scorer on the other side. And it brings me back to the series against the Cavs last year, where Donovan Mitchell not only had to guard Jrue Holiday, but then shoulder the offensive load. And so by Jrue being aggressive, it's like almost playing defense too. Just kind of another way the two ends are connected. So it does make them more dynamic. It doesn't mean that he's always going to be able to do that, and every matchup's going to be worth them kind of going to him, but they needed him tonight too. Nobody else could score for the first 3 quarters.
That's what I said too, Noah. This matchup's good for him. There's so many guys he can go at. The weaker defender's going to be on him too, and those guys are so lightweight on the Heat, frankly. Like, he can just batter through those guys, and then scoring inside opens him up outside. To me, the concern's not against most teams in the league. It is that Thunder game, the Grizzlies game, those teams that have taken advantage of him because they're so good defensively and they're so tough to beat, that he ends up being a little bit of a weak link in those matchups because they can play off of him a little bit, and the shooting's just not there as much this year. So I'm not concerned about him, but I'm just looking at what we've seen in full this year, and my takeaway is he's going to be fine in most matchups, but against the very best defenses in the league, they're going to put the pressure on him to beat them.
Yeah, but again, I still think that's a mistake. Just based on
what else can you do, John?
Like,
who else can you dare to beat you?
But that's always been their thing. I think you just pressure them and you try to run them off the line. Again, we go back to that other game, with the 63 threes against OKC and everyone freaking out over it. I said it to you guys earlier in the chat. If the Celtics do that in a 7-game series and they shoot 63s a night, they're winning that series. So again, those shots didn't fall, but it wasn't like freaking out as a result of it. I don't think you're like going to beat the Celtics by leaving Jrue Holiday open the whole time.
They couldn't reach the paint in that game though, John.
They could not, and that was definitely a problem. But again, I know Memphis did it a while back, and that was the first sign of it. And it was like, oh yeah, he isn't shooting well, and maybe that was a good tactic. But again, I'm not willing to say he's broken.
No.
Well, I think part of it is also that when his only looks are 3-point shots, like he was a great 3-point shooter last year, but he's not a career 3-point shooter. Like that's not how he made his 2 all-star appearances and was a dominant offensive player. And I think what he enjoyed tonight, and he kind of talked about it, kind of getting to the basket, being able to score in different ways.
Yes.
He doesn't get a lot of those looks. And not only is that good because it's a different look, but also it helps him make those threes for the same reason why star players shoot technical fouls. Like if your only shot's going to be a corner 3 and that's the only look you're going to get all game, like you have to be a really elite shooter to be hitting that.
Yeah.
And I think this year he struggled a little bit, and not everybody.
Yeah. You're right, Noah. I mean, but like the numbers are about the same though. His 3-point volume, he's shooting about as many as he normally shoots. It's just his overall, it's the percentage of his shots that's down. He used to be a 14, 15 shot per game guy attempting 5 threes. Now he's a 10 shot per game guy attempting 5 threes. So he has been relegated to that, nobody puts Jrue in the corner. Like that's kind of where he's supposed to be. And you're right. When they don't fall, everything goes back. And he's one of those guys. And that's the downside. That's the problem. Not the problem, but this is sometimes a challenge with the Celtics offense when they are constantly hunting mismatches. You're always doing that for Tatum and Brown, and you're leaving guys like White and Holiday kind of out of the flow of things. And Holiday is a guy who sometimes needs to go to work. He can beat people off the dribble. He backs guys down. He uses his physicality, but he needs the ball in his hands, and he needs to do his thing. He doesn't get the opportunity to do that very often. So that's why you're not going to see that. And that's exactly right, Noah. The reason sometimes, his production is down is, well, all he got to do was shoot 3s today, and he just didn't have it. As has been the case for a lot of the year. But I do feel that it's interesting. It's almost like during a lot of times of this year, you were wondering if the Celtics were suffering from too much talent because you were putting the ball in certain people's hands, taking other people out of the game where maybe you could have used those people in that game, and it just wasn't working for them. And you had Derek White disappearing for stretches and Holiday disappearing for stretches because they weren't kind of being involved in the way that they normally would. When you see guys go down and they play down a man or down 2, those guys all step up. They shoulder a greater load, and something like this happens.
You know what I think about too, Noah, is that Memphis game we keep looking back at. Holiday took all those shots and Jalen didn't shoot at all. And so that just threw off the hierarchy of their offense so much too. And I wonder for a guy like Holiday, he's used to shooting a lot of shots, but not over the past year or two here. So when you go from 10 a game to 15, 20, 26, like it was in that game, it's just so different from your normal role night to night that even if you are a great shooter, even if you're capable of doing this stuff, you're just not doing it every night. So I think that's been part of the dynamic with him. Maybe it would change in a playoff series if teams do force him to do that every night. He'd get going, he'd get a rhythm, and then they'd have to stop doing that. But to me, if I'm an opposing coach, that's the greatest value in it to me, is that this guy doesn't do this often anymore. So let's make him shoot as many shots as possible and beat us.
And I think that's the value of this stretch here, is that you're limiting the number of guys who have been cold for 2 months, right? Sam Hauser had his big night. Pritchard and Derek White had theirs. Jrue has his now. And it just makes it harder if you're preparing to play this team now. Like you're going to be a little bit less inclined to let Jrue Holiday be left wide open after he just scored 25. A little bit less inclined to not respect Sam Hauser's shot when he just had it going last week. So I think for opposing teams, it makes it harder. And then obviously for them, it raises their confidence. And so there's been this discussion here in Miami all day today about like what the balance between the starting 5 getting reps together and then also this and the rest and everything. And I do think that like there is a value in different guys getting opportunities that they're probably not going to see in the playoffs. Obviously you want to see Kristaps Porzingis back. I think he'll be back pretty soon. That's the feeling that I get. But nights like tonight, they're a win in their own way because you need to have kind of reactivate some of those scores. Because Jrue Holiday sometimes takes 5 shots in a game, and we all know, I mean, he's capable of doing more than that, and he's okay with it, but it keeps everybody honest when he can tap into the things that he's able to do.
Facts, my dog.
Oh, Jimmy, do better.
What? What? I've talked about Jrue Holiday for an hour. I can't say anything else about
And we
Jrue
never
Holiday.
talk
You know who
about
we
him,
ha-
though. It was kind of refreshing. We never hear from
you
him.
know
It
where
was
we
refreshing.
started
I
tonight?
liked what Noah had to say. I truly facts my dog.
No, wasn't listening. Go ahead, repeat it. What did Noah say?
I'm not going to get into it now. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm not getting into
I'll also
it.
say I think it's a good sign because he does still have the finger thing. So we didn't know, like his first few plays back after the finger thing, we were like,
Jimmy's listening now. Finger
Didn't
thing,
look
finger
good.
thing. I got it.
Yeah. He's got the splint.
Yeah, finger thing.
Finger thing. Finger thing.
Noah, what do you think we started the show with?
I don't know. Mimi and Luke shooting threes.
Yeah.
You got it. No,
We didn't do the Luke shooting threes thing.
Mimi. Okay.
We did talk about Queta.
You just said it,
Uh,
Noah. They got to play these guys down the stretch.
Yeah, it's good. Now Nimi's 1% more ready to go for if they need him for the playoffs for some reason.
Does Nimi like being called Nimi, or are we just doing this to him? You gotta ask
That's
him
what he
that.
calls him that.
Okay, so here's my problem. I echo what Joe says, which is a problem because like Joe knows these people and I don't. So that's where I get my naming from. Like if he starts saying something, I start saying it about the player too. So he calls him Nimi. So
No,
Terry Francona used to do that. And we did not follow suit there. He just everybody Millsy.
Well,
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just asking where I got it from. That's where I got it.
It's a hockey thing too.
Yeah.
But he's stuck with him today.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Queta, it's so funny the amount of people that fill our timelines with Queta and Cornette talk as if they're the two most significant players on this team. But the war rages on, and it was it's so amazing how it was Luke hate, and now it's just gone over to the Queta side, and just
It's
people were
shocking.
just screaming, "Get this guy out of there!" And he ended up finishing strong, and Mazzulla talked about it. And he had his faith in him, and he closed out the game and he played well. Here's Noah catching up with Nimi in the locker room after the game.
Oh, man.
Noah, can you translate?
He's quiet.
Is he talking?
Apparently.
We'll try that again.
Sorry, I don't.
All right, just
it
let
was
us know
loud in
what he
there.
said.
He was talking. It's
He is.
didn't say
He's.
much.
I think
He
you
didn't
covered
say
Jay,
much.
right? Me.
Yes.
I think he was previously the softest voice I ever heard, and Nimi passed him by miles.
It was just when he turned away from me, it was over, and I knew it was over in that moment, and there wasn't much I could do.
I mean, no, he
Look at
wasn't
Nimi.
helping you.
Look at me.
The chat likes Queta. Apparently.
No, a
Give
lot
me
of
a
people
poll.
love Queta.
Give me a poll, guys. Producers.
You like Queta
in
or
the
do you
chat.
not?
Queta,
Queta
yay
or
or
Luke?
nay?
It's decided tonight.
Are you a Queta hater?
Queta.
How much do you think we could see him in the playoffs, Noah?
Not all the chat. Jake, first to
Oh,
the floor. Jake's a Luke
no.
guy.
Jake.
Jake's a
I
Luke
thought
guy.
Jake was just pro everybody on the Celtics, though.
No, Jake. We've seen angry Jake this year.
Oh my God!
Brought it
What
out of
game
him
was
a
he
little bit.
out? He gave up on them one night. He was like,
He
"I'm
lost
done
his
with
mind
this."
one game. Jake, what was
Yeah.
that? You were out.
Everyone's
Was
had
that the Hawks
everyone's had a
game?
game like that this year, though.
Yeah.
I mean, January was a dark time. I was really down too.
Oh, dude, you could find some clips of me
Some
being like,
things
"This
were
team's
said.
done."
Yeah.
Hurtful things, yes.
Some
But they
hurtful
deserved
things were
it.
said.
They deserved
They
it.
deserved it. They were awful,
Call it like we
but
see
they
it.
got out of it.
Call it like we see
You
it.
think we could see Nimi in the playoffs, Noah?
Not if everybody's healthy, but if something goes wrong, which it easily could, then maybe for limited stints. But I don't think he's in the playoff rotation. I mean, if everybody's healthy, you've got Porzingis, Al, and Luke, and Luke's obviously been great this year, so he's going to be ahead of that. What was that, John?
Noah, did you get Tatum and White as well in the locker room?
I did. If my service. Okay, Tatum just sent, I think.
Okay, cool. We'll hear from those guys. I saw it popping up on Twitter that those guys spoke. We'll hear from Tata or White, possibly Tata if we can. Tata
tot.
Tata. Well, so I
rough
guess
one for Tatum tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he had no interest in really playing in this game. He was just kind of there until he decided, like, I'll play a little. And
he had a couple big threes.
It was one of those.
Was he on the injury report?
Yeah, with the tendinopathy, which is also a new thing. Nobody had tendinopathy before this year either.
I know his thing, right? He wants to always play and he wants to show off on the road, especially. But it's like, if you're gonna play and not play at full speed,
just don't play.
Yeah, just don't play.
You can't do it in a JB's out game, though. That's the thing. It's like Brown probably needed it more, so Tatum played. They'll
probably split the back-to-back.
You'll flip it tomorrow. Yeah.
No, I bet Tatum's going to play tomorrow.
Maybe. I think
he just keeps playing.
He had a terrible stretch there. Like
Brooklyn, yeah.
First 5 minutes of the third quarter was some of the worst basketball he's played in a long time. Just turnover after turnover. And then you could kind of see that there was a moment where he snapped into it. And then he finished that quarter strong and was a big part of why they were able to kind of tie things up getting into the fourth. So overall, it was one of those games I looked up and I was like, somehow he has like 28 points and 5 assists and 9 rebounds. It's like, as bad as he looked for stretches, they are better with him. And I don't know, maybe they don't win this game if he doesn't play. So it was not the most inspiring Tatum basketball. And I was thinking about those fans that got that Christmas gift, those first few minutes in the third quarter. I'm sure they weren't thrilled. But he did have, he made enough of an impact today, I thought, to warrant.
Yeah, and then you could really feel it there in the fourth quarter when he didn't start out there. It was like, oh, how long is this lineup gonna last? And they did okay. They did okay without him there. They
I wonder how they're gonna figure that out.
They actually stretched the lead, which was something there with Tatum.
I think a lot of that's gonna be White.
Yeah,
and he was so great. You just expect it. The 3 plays in a row there.
Yeah.
The pull-up 3.
I mean, it's amazing the grenades that they throw him late in the clock, and he hits those bailout threes. I mean, he's got to have a dozen of those or more. He's got so many of those. He had 2 tonight.
There was one against the Knicks that was so absurd. There was another one against, I forget who it was against, but he was kind of falling out of bounds, barely had the ball, and just like threw it up and it went in off the glass. He has a handful this year. They're just absurd.
Yeah.
The 40-point game, he had like 2 that were just wild threes.
I mean,
that's what he do. That's what he do. There was a little bit. I'm not trying to. I'll start it after. No, I'm gonna poke at Noah a little bit. Not really. I'm gonna ask her a question about what the chat was saying. Jayson Tatum, as we said, 28 points. It's amazing that the stat lines always end up looking something like this, even in the crap games. But this is what it came out with: 28 points. Finishes with, not abysmal shooting. It certainly wasn't a great night for him. He did have the turnovers. Did he finish with 5? It's not up in here, but he had 5 at one point. I'm not sure if he added another.
Their ball pressure is great against
resume. So he got, he was off for sure, but he did turn it on when it mattered. Here he is in the locker room after the game.
What does it do for you guys when Jrue is able to kind of be aggressive from the jump and have such a big offensive performance like he did tonight?
It's special. I know he's been dealing with finger injury and stuff, so I know it probably feel good for him to see some shots go in, and other guys was having some tough shooting nights, myself included. So that's what makes us so dynamic. We got somebody like Jrue that can pick up the slack and be aggressive and attack mismatches. He's such a bigger guard. So when he's being aggressive, attacking guys, posting up, we just that much better.
Do you think at this point he's underrated around the league? I know you guys don't, but around the league.
Probably so. It's the nature of, this business. They quickly forget about, 2-time All-Star, 2-time Olympian, 2-time champion, in the league. It's got to be year, 15 maybe, 14.
But
still playing on a high
level.
level.
Something after this.
One of the key guys in the championship.
I feel you, Jimmy.
Some of those like Hall of Fame careers, and I've been very fortunate to be on the championship team with him, won 2 gold medals with him. So, I for sure appreciate Jrue, and he's helped me in my career.
It hasn't always happened in the past, but what does it do when you're on the 4th?
I won 2 gold medals. Did you know that?
By the time you come in, there's more pressure.
Yeah, those moments are big for our team, big for the growth for us when
this visitor locker room stinks.
Yeah, it's probably one of the worst
or
in the
maintain the lead for those 4, 5, 6 minutes, whatever it is. Those guys held it down. Out of the roof, and Tatum, D-White, and Derek, for that group to start the 4th. They played extremely well.
Tonight were a lot of Celtics fans in the arena, and then the last minute of the game, we were at the free throw line, and they were like crazy loud, cheering for the Celtics. Is this something that you realized in that moment when you were standing there at the line?
Yeah, something I realized since I was a rookie. Something I don't take for granted. It's an honor to wear this uniform, and the pride that comes with that, and how many fans that we have that travel, every city we go to, and it's special. Here, let's go Celtics in away arenas, regular season, preseason, playoff games. It's what's special about being Boston Celtics.
It sounds like the ownership change is going to happen like fairly soon.
Noah, you got anything good coming here, or can I jump off this?
Franchise cornerstone.
Talks about playing on the road.
Like the qualities a new owner might have.
Ownership, and then I asked them about O'Shea Brissett. Sorry.
We'll bail before that.
Look forward to whoever it is. I trust the Wick and Pat and those guys. And
owners. Okay, new owners. And O'Shea Brissett. You can check
owners.
out
Wait, what do you say about the owners?
Next owner, same as the last.
Yeah,
they'll be fine. Money.
Yeah, bunch of private equity guys.
Yeah. Oh, a rich guy bought it. Wow. So Jimmy, what was your take
on what?
You had something to say.
You said you had something to say.
Oh.
Literally, you were like, I would like the floor, please.
Well, no. It was just I don't want to play the whole like nobody respects Jrue Holiday, because every time they do the player like questionnaires, every player is picking Jrue Holiday as the best defender in the NBA. So I think he is
not
very
everybody's underrated.
Right. Not everyone needs to have a bone.
No one talks about Jrue Holiday.
Yeah. Except literally every year when the player questionnaire goes out, every player is saying Jrue Holiday is the best defender in the NBA. So, maybe it's again, off a little bit. I think offensively, maybe they forget, but
it's like a seesaw. And even what we're talking about tonight, John, it's like you talk about some concerns about him and the numbers don't look great. And it's like, oh, you don't believe in him. You don't think he's great anymore. And it's like, no, he's not playing as great as he usually does this year. And so, we can talk about it.
But there's a general victim mentality with a lot of people on this team, and Tatum's at the forefront of it. We've talked about like the disrespect thing. It's like
Brown's up there too with it.
You're not disrespecting. You have a vocal minority of people, and like maybe Shaquille O'Neal thinks Jayson Tatum's soft or something, and like the majority of the world doesn't think that about a lot of them. Go ahead, Noah.
No, I do want to interject on that, because this is like a thing that I have where we have to take into account the question that was asked. Abby asked him, is Jrue underrated? What is he supposed to say? He's actually overrated? Like, he's going to say she's underrated. Whenever
properly rated.
But it's not him, but 2 people answered yes.
Right. What do you mean?
So it doesn't matter if the question was asked. 2 people answered yes, he is.
Right, because when you ask a player, is your teammate underrated? Like, chances are they do feel that way. Like,
I don't really get the question either. Yeah, it is 2 sides.
It's an inelegant question. What she's trying to say, I believe, is not underrated as much as it is forgotten because of all of the star power on this team.
Under the radar.
That's the essence of it. It's more under the radar than underrated. That's how I believe it.
Right, and I think part of it is also like what at least my interpretation, because I asked Joe about it and he said, like, I said kind of underrated. Like, I meant as far as their offensive options more. But he was like, not kind of, like very. And I think part of it is also just the things that look, we talk about, but when people are talking about trading different, put that down, take that down. Don't even flag that comment. That I think there's an element of that's ridiculous. On Women's History Month, really, John? So
seriously, John, have some.
I don't know why.
Of all the months, John.
What the hell, John?
Well, what I was trying to say is that Mimi talked about the
John,
fact that Jrue is important as a leader.
John needs a timeout. I'm just kidding.
Jimmy doesn't know how to work the room. Let Noah finish your thought.
Sorry.
Doesn't matter.
No, finish.
I just think there are things that Jrue does that when fans are working the trade machine and looking at his efficiency slipping, there are things that he even this year has been doing that I do think go under the radar. And you notice it when he's out for extended periods of time. You notice the defensive mistakes that don't get cleaned up. Nimi talked about him as a leader, how important it is that he kind of uses his experience playing around. I do think there are things that are remain underrated.
We can call it both ways, though.
On this current Celtics team. That's all I'm saying.
We can call it both ways. Like tonight, it's great. It's amazing. It shows he still got it to some degree. But on Wednesday,
you might have had 4 points. But my point is that people don't see his full impact on the game when he has 4 points. And so then tonight we can celebrate it because it's easier to see his impact when he's like one of the primary.
When he's scoring, yeah.
But he can be very impactful when he's the sixth option in a game too.
As he often is.
And I think that's when they're talking about like his impact and him being underrated. That is what they're referring to more so.
Yeah, underrated. It's such a vague term because.
As I said, I don't think that's what was. I don't want to sit here and correct it. I think the sentiment was more.
No,
nobody talks about Holiday on this team.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've got all these other guys.
He's maybe underappreciated.
Underappreciated is better.
That
he flies under the radar. Forgotten sometimes. And again, forgotten of how good he is. Because again, Olympian. NBA champion, former All-Star, and a guy who's accustomed to being a second or third offensive option as recently as a couple of years ago on a title contending team. This guy's real, and it's just here. He's just, we had a nice Jrue game. Wasn't that great? It's almost not even needed for him to do those sorts of things. So, I think that's
you said you feel like Kristaps going to be back soon.
This is not like anything sourced or reported, but do you remember when last time I said it and then I was right? So he went through shoot around today.
This is the vibes report again.
This is the vibes report, but I was right last time, so I give myself a little bit more credit here. First, shoot around went through like a very extensive shoot around routine, running, puffing and puffing, wasn't coughing, and he's been coughing every time I've seen him in the last 2 weeks. That's one. Maybe he just got a lucky 15 minutes, but he wasn't coughing. Second of all, during the game, he's on the bench. He was standing. He was cheering. He was super, super engaged in a way where he just hasn't been over the past few weeks. And last time I felt that way after his recovering from surgery, like there was a moment where he started to look more engaged in the game from the sidelines. And then soon after, he was playing again. So he's been questionable forever now. Maybe he's not going to come back tomorrow. But if he does come back tomorrow, I called it. That's all.
Wow. Well, it's always weird when you enter these back-to-backs. It's always weird when you enter these back-to-backs when it seems like a guy's getting close to being back because did he sit tonight because he's not ready to go? Or did he sit tonight because they're playing Horford tonight and he'll play tomorrow? I don't think he's going to play tomorrow. I think there's probably going to be like a full ramp-up process here that they're not going to rush. But it does say something that he traveled, right? Because it's just a little 2-game trip, John. Like he could have just stayed back and conditioned if that was the most important thing. And this travel's kind of crazy, right? Like they're playing at 6:00 tomorrow. They have to fly overnight tonight. And that's probably a little strenuous to put him through if he's not going to play. So I do actually think there's a small chance he could play tomorrow.
Or he could have just went to Brooklyn instead of going to, you know what I mean? Like get one extra day in here, but whatever.
I was happy to see he made the trip because it's like if somebody who's really sick and is waiting for 1 million blood test results is probably not getting on a plane and going to Miami.
Right.
So it was just a good sign, I think. In general.
Yeah, I mean, you're there, Noah, so your vibes are real because you're actually seeing it and kind of getting a read on the situation. My thought outright of him traveling for a back-to-back for a bunch of games where, these 2 games where you're probably going to sit half the team one night, half the team the next, I think portends to the likelihood that he plays tomorrow if he's there. So again, it wouldn't be shocking if he played 20 minutes tomorrow night, but I that was kind of my thought when I heard he traveled.
So here's the concern to me, and it's good that he's out on the floor again today. But one of the big things I've heard here is that there's been like real setbacks with the conditioning. Like you ramp up, and then it's exhaustion, and you have to kind of start over again here. And that's why he's been out for so long. It feels like here. So I hope everything went well. I don't know what you heard from Joe. It's probably nothing though in terms of when he could be back here, but there's just been so many highs and lows through this process. Even him missing the first game, coming back for that next game, and then missing 8 straight after. It's just been a very weird recovery process for him. So it almost feels like day to day things could change here with how weird this illness has been that could swing in either direction. But he worked out against the Lakers, didn't play. He said he was going to be back for that game. He didn't play he didn't warm up the next 2 games, and then he warmed up this morning. So it's kind of weird, the arc of how that's all gone. But again, if he went on this trip, there has to be at least some chance that he could play on this trip.
Yeah. And again, I'm not worried. I know there's a lot of people out there who are like, what is it? And like making a huge deal out of mystery illness and dumb internet conspiracy theories about what's going on. He hasn't cleared his virus yet, and he's just off. I think he's fine. I'm not super worried about it. And like I said earlier, low key,
this actually
was one of the best things that happened.
I thought it might have been mono, but they would have already tested that immediately, and they would.
Yeah, that'd be an easy one.
Yeah,
it's probably nameless or like some random thing that is not in the initial screening.
Yeah.
Again, I'm fine.
It is wild though. The same guy with the rare leg injury that's just had so much bad luck with stuff is also the one that has like the random viral illness that nobody.
It's so Porzingis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna show up to a game and like a bird's gonna fly in and like gouge out an eye or something. It's like, oh, how did that happen here?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so unlucky. Oh my god.
It is kind of amazing that for how much time he's missed.
You are the unicorn. Yeah.
For how much time he's missed in a Celtics uniform, including like the entire postseason last year, that his tenure has been a smash hit success. Like if you said when the day they got him, if you threw a number out there, how many games he was going to miss out of the total games, you would be like, oh shit, that trade failed, but it's worked somehow.
Yeah, it is. This is funny, but like, yeah, unicorns get strange afflictions. It is what it is. What would you expect? For
it actually is a good point you make, Bobby, in terms of like
he's missed so many games.
When you do look back on it,
you'd think people would be mad at him for this. Yeah,
you would think, but it will be interesting to look back when it is all over someday and really go over
that one game he came. That one game he came back for the finals was such like all-time unforgettable. Like 30 years from now, you'll still be talking about a game that erased everything else.
Just lit the place up. Yeah.
I mean, that was unreal. I still get chills thinking of that one. He just absolutely kicked their ass. That was awesome.
Some corned beef and cabbage. Happy St. Patrick's Day to those who celebrate. I will not be eating corned beef this weekend, Noah. I will have you.
It's tough to eat.
It's gross.
And I'm Irish.
What else do you do with it? If you don't,
I'm not gonna do anything with it. I'm not gonna touch it.
I'm gonna have a little because it's tradition, but it's salty.
It's terrible. It's
bad. You don't have to eat it, Bob.
When it's boiled. It's bad.
Noah's not gonna have it. She might have cabbage, but she's not gonna have the corned beef.
I'll have a Guinness.
It's Irish tradition.
We should make.
Cabbage?
Yeah, we should make a shepherd's pie instead.
I love shepherd's pie.
You know what's the worst thing in the world? It's not quite the same thing. Soda bread.
Oh, I like soda bread.
Irish soda bread is literally the worst food. Oh my god.
Sounds horrible.
I like it with a nice tea, some butter.
Oh jeez.
Jam.
Checks out.
Yeah, it's like bad scones, and scones are bad.
Scones stink. I hate scones. Who is the scone guy like at the bakery? Like, yeah, give me a scone. I'm like, We're not.
I gotta.
We would never jive, man.
I gotta defend soda bread.
Soda
John,
bread is the worst. Soda bread's more closer to a weapon than it is a friggin'
I gotta defend soda bread, John. But I will say the fact that you need a ton of butter and jam isn't the best argument.
Yeah, know. Dip it in lard to make it good.
If you need to do all those things to it, it's just not good.
Yeah.
But corned beef and cabbage.
Of course, Bobby's the scone guy.
Yeah.
I said
like,
soda
what's
bread.
wrong
I'm
with
actually not crazy
scones?
about scones.
No, I don't know. I don't really. Maybe it's a good thing. I don't really know anyone who is.
Oh, Jake's a scones guy.
Somebody's buying them. Maybe it's an Australian thing.
I used to work at a restaurant where we had
take,
unlimited scones, and that was my favorite thing. So.
Unlimited scones.
Like I worked there, so there was like a scone thing where you give it to all the customers, and you could just eat them in the back room, and that's what I lived off.
Oh yeah, I used to eat all the food in my.
So you're a scone guy too.
I'm a scone guy. Well, I'm not. Those aren't vegan, so I'm not anymore. But
Scones aren't.
typically not. So
You can probably
Croissants are great. I eat croissants.
Just when you thought a scone couldn't get worse, you can probably
Alright.
make a vegan scone. What?
So we're 90 minutes in, and I'm assuming I missed the compliment pie, or we were just saving
The
it to the end.
compliment cake.
You were saving it.
It's
Don was a promise.
It's credit cake.
Credit cake.
Okay.
Oh, credit cake. Sorry.
Compliment.
So you have it.
You
You
give
have it queued
blame
up,
and you give people credit, so it's the credit cake.
Credit cake.
And what's wrong with people saying French toast is awful? This is
what?
French
like,
toast
I
is
think-
one of the best things in the
I
world.
think you think you're being sophisticated by saying it's just bread, but it's absolutely
French
amazing.
toast is amazing. It's brioche.
French toast
bread.
is
Dipped
out of
in
this
egg.
world.
It's brioche dipped in egg batter, if you will.
It's like custardy. It's amazing. What's wrong with you people?
It's unreal.
The
And
king
then
of,
you
it's
douse
the
it
king
with
of
syrup.
syrupy. The king of syrupy breakfasts by far.
I think so too.
Waffles are the worst. Sorry.
No, you get
Yeah,
a
I
nice
think
French
French toast
toast.
is
I'll do banana peanut butter syrup on the French toast, and it's unreal. Try it
Maple
out.
syrup. Yeah, that's the best part.
No, does that not pass the
No.
test?
Well, I never liked French toast, so it's not personal to being vegan or anything.
That's okay. We were talking about Yelpers early, and I did. What was the analogy you made with the Yelp, Jimmy? Because I have a.
Is that the problem with Yelp? Is you only get negative like feedback?
My problem with Yelp is I don't care what 98% of the people on there say, especially when they're talking about like the hostess was so rude. I'm like, yeah, because you
Yeah, when
carried
you
out
get
on her,
that, you're
probably.
like, all right, let me move
I'm
on.
like,
You're a Yelp person.
maybe you're the problem, like not that person. Or the one
You gotta
star.
sort out-
They said 20 minutes and it took 30. Like, get off.
Those
Just
are-
So
if
bad.
the food, like,
Yeah.
if
Just
the
talk
food-
to me
just-
about the food.
Just tell me about the food and not whether or not, like, people could deal with your impatient ass.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. I ordered a
sort out
cinnamon raisin
people that are
bagel, and they
disappointing.
brought out a plain. What?
Oh God! People asking about the bracket. We're gonna try to release it tomorrow. But if you have any last thoughts on what can be included in our March Madness CLNS Garden Report Isms bracket, please submit them to us. Tweet them to us. Remind us what it is. Whatever you
Toss them in the chat.
if you think of it, toss them in the chat. All of that, I would love it here. And
I added a
Thunder
few to the
fan here
list,
from
John.
Oklahoma. Hey, thank you, buddy. We're hoping it would be great basketball if that's
Thanks,
the case.
Brandon.
That OKC game was friggin' tense.
Make sure you
Who'd
follow
they
Joe
play tonight?
Sway.
They sat. So OKC's under investigation for sitting all their starters tonight against Portland in a game they won, or was it last night?
They're under
That's
investigation.
been last night. Yeah. So it was a
They're
back
being
to back
looked
for
at.
them.
That was a while ago.
They're
It was like 9 days ago.
Okay, they were being
Oh.
looked at for that. Yeah, and that
Everybody's
came
getting
out today.
investigated.
Which, like, come on, it was a week ago. Yeah, it was. That was the news that we got here that they're being investigated for sitting all of their starters. I think in a
They
game
played
where they won, which is yeah.
Isn't our
Hilarious.
guy? Speaking of investigating, isn't our
Hi,
guy
DeQuavius.
Terry Rozier getting investigated? Kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's under federal
gambling.
investigation.
we are doing this, Zach. Yeah.
Possible gambling, and he's been playing really.
Damn
he was
it!
playing-
Damn it! Amit is on the
That's
is
on
on
it.
the list. That was yeah.
Terry Rozier is playing so bad that a couple games ago he had like the worst like highlight reel from a game. There, people are like convinced that he threw the game. Like that's when you know you're playing poorly, is when people think you're gambling to lose.
Yeah, he had that neck injury in the playoffs last year against the Celtics and never played, and just doesn't look capable of playing anymore since. It's kind of weird. He was really good in Charlotte and then went down there to Miami and
Crazy
hasn't been able-
how quickly that went downhill. Anyway, we are going to wrap tonight. We got another one as a back-to-back tomorrow. There'll be a special guest host along with Bobby Manning. You're going to have to tune in to find out who that is, but Noah is going to be reporting from Brooklyn. Noah, are you taking your brother out tonight?
No, we went out last night though. We were in Miami Beach.
Oh, you guys got after it?
I mean,
Clubs?
I don't know if I'd say we got after it, but it is spring break here, so like it's a lot crazier than it has been when I've been here previously. Like the roads are all blocked off so that like drunk people don't run onto the streets. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. What was the intro thing? Why did we keep replaying the intro?
I don't remember actually.
Tatum looked very tan tonight. I couldn't believe he must have
Why
not
did we
left
keep
the sun.
doing that?
That was one of many inside jokes that never made sense to me at any point.
No, that was organic. That was the only time it had ever happened. But we just kept replaying it.
Like the Noah hates Tatum one. I still don't know why everybody says it.
I mean,
Let's
it's
shoot.
obvious.
Get that in there. Get that.
No, but one day I came on, everybody was saying it, and you were like, "I'll explain to you later." And I never I should have rewatched the first half of that show.
Isn't it? Yeah, I mean, you should.
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
We'll never know.
It's
I mean,
pretty
really,
obvious.
Do we have to explain it?
Yeah, it's hard to hide. But anyway, Noah doing great work again, reporting on the scene down in Miami. Make sure you follow her stuff over on Celtics blog. Follow her on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it these days, Blue Sky as well, for updates. As she'll be heading to Brooklyn as the Celtics take on Brooklyn, the Nets in a back-to-back. Tomorrow, game time is 6:00. We have retired phenomenal. The rules of the tournament is if it's not within the year or if it's an oldie, we're done. There's no Brockton Wi-Fi. There's no third center. There's no fun. The third center win last year?
I forget.
Wait, I thought the winner should get a berth back into this year's bracket.
We're going to do an all-timers bracket, like when they do like Survivor, like the champions, or whatever it is, know. So we'll bring back there'll be a Legends
XL.
We'll do a Legends tour for sure, but we're trying to keep it new, stuff that's in the conversation this year, and that's what we're looking at. I'll try to release that bracket tomorrow. I'm working on the seedings tonight, but I do think we have enough suggestions to be able to pull that off.
Important.
That's always fun. It's tough though, because I feel like there's a lot of parity this year. There's not a clear, far and away favorite here. So I'll have you guys, I'll ask your opinions here.
Noah, can we get a hint on who the next Celtics mom's going to be in the series that you're working on?
A hint? They are a fan favorite, and I already posted it on Twitter. So
you already gave it away? Noah's working. Why don't you tell everybody since we were plugging your stuff?
Oh, yeah, you can check out. I wrote a couple stories about mom, the Celtics players. Most recently, Al Horford's mom, who is a reporter, so she really appreciates.
That was an excellent story.
When you interview a reporter and it's like you can tell that like they get it,
Yeah.
Actually, no. One of those.
It's like when salesmen pitch salespeople.
Actually, don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put two sales guys on the phone with each other, and they don't realize that they're talking to a sales guy.
Yeah. Right. So Al's mom was saying she does not think he's retiring soon. She thinks he has some good years left. And
oh wow, that's inside info.
You can check out that whole story on CelticsBlog.com.
And there's no reason to, because he looks like the same guy every single night. Anyway, I mean, year after year, no drop off.
He's on a streak here. Like the last few weeks, he's looked better than he was earlier in the year. Something's clicking.
It's unreal. He looks amazing. So yes, great. Read that story.
Looks very
all
good.
That stuff from Noah, Bobby Manning for CLNS Media, Jimmy Toscano doing his thing. Yeah,
just here,
just hanging. You'll find Jimmy. He's just kind of hanging around town.
Just living, man. You'll see me.
You'll see him. Either playing music or robbing Fenway Park.
If you see me, you're having a good day, because that's all I am, dude. That's all I'm doing.
Good vibes. Good vibes. Thank you guys for hanging out as the Celtics take down the I don't even know who they played tonight. Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Heat. Miami Heat. The
The
Wiggins
Miami Heat. 103.
The
This is
Wiggins
not the
Heat.
Heat. These aren't the Heat. Thank you guys for hanging out. We do
He'll be back
appreciate it.
soon.
Thank you for watching. Yeah, we will see you all on this show again tomorrow if I can find our outro.
From
Which is
Pittsburgh. Thanks,
right-
Jason, for the super chat.
Oh, thank you. No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're gonna do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have
Say
to
it.
feel that
Say it,
way.
please.
Let's fly that over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke